Hi, you guys. My name is Adrienne Harless. I'm a counselor at Carl Albert Middle School. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about one of the trauma-informed practices that we use at Carl Albert Middle School, and that's professional learning communities, or PLCs. And I'm sure several of you are familiar with those, but I just want to go over those quickly. I think before you can understand PLCs, you have to understand team teaching at the middle school and kind of how that schedule is built. So just to go over that really quickly, you have 5 core teachers made up of a science teacher, math, language arts, history, and at the middle school, everyone takes literacy. And to make math really easy for you guys and for myself, let's say the 6th grade class has 300 students. We would split those students in half, and 150 of the students would have the same 5 core teachers. Maybe that team's made up and it's called the Titan All-Stars. And then the remaining 150 students would have the other 5 core teachers, and that would be the Brady Bunch. So those 5 teachers would teach 5 classes. We have 7 hours at the middle school, so they would teach 5. They would have a personal planning period, and then they would have a PLC time. And then you're asking, what's a PLC? Well, that's a Common Core Planning Time. And so that's where those 5 teachers get together, the same planning period time, where they meet together and they can talk about their students, they can talk about curriculum needs, they can meet with their special ed teachers on that team and talk about IEPs. There's lots of things that can happen during that time. I'm going to talk about some things that we use for trauma-specific items. Okay, so when we're looking at trauma, they're going to be looking at those roster of kiddos, and they're going to be looking at academic needs of students. They're going to look at social emotional needs of students. They're going to be looking at what resources, are we missing some resources that maybe some of our students are needing. They're going to look at developmental needs. Maybe we're missing some kiddos that need some extra, maybe they need to be on an IEP, maybe they need to be on a 504. What are some developmental needs that some of our students are needing? Right now, we're really using these PLC times for some gaps in students. Right here, you can see a picture of a specific team that's meeting together with their special ed teachers. And really, you guys were using this time to really target these kids and bridge the gap between the classroom, the counseling office, and our administrative team. The counselors, there's 3 of us, and we can't get to all of those kiddos. We really depend on the teachers to be our eyes and ears for us, and they do a great job to be more intentional for us in looking at these kiddos, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how they're doing that for us. So these are a couple of our teams meeting together and looking at the needs of our students. Some of the things we've seen this year with our PLC times and some of the benefits of having these PLCs is we're seeing a lot less classroom issues, specifically with the counseling office. Schedule changes being a big topic for us. Maybe we have Johnny and Susie in the same class and they are just not working out. Well, we'll do a schedule change and then suddenly we move Johnny into a class period with Bobby, and Johnny and Bobby aren't a great mix. A great thing about having these teams together is they can talk about where the best fit for Johnny is within their team, and they're doing that work for us to let us know, hey, Johnny would work best in this hour. And a lot less classroom issues because of that. They can let us know what works best for within their teams and what would be best for the students. They're managing a lot more of the classroom type issues for administration, for the counseling office, right within their teams. If Johnny is having one of those weeks, they'll pull him in out of an elective time during these PLC times and say, hey, we've noticed you've been a little goofy in several of our classes. What's going on? What can we help you with? And they're dealing a lot more with those little classroom issues instead of having to refer him to the office. We're making a lot more student connections. They're getting to know their students more intimately because they all share the same roster of students. So they're building those student connections, which leads us into just student recognition. We're being able to be more intentional with our student recognition and building those relationships. We're not waiting for those 9 weeks or even semester awards assemblies to be able to recognize our students. We're looking for those positive things, high flyers, birds of a feather. I love some of these boards that I went around and took pictures of. where we're able to weekly recognize our students instead of waiting for those big awards. Just another way that we're positively building the atmosphere and culture of our building, and just another way that we're building those relationships. This is one of my favorite things that I think we're using PLCs and building trauma-informed teachers in our building as cares and concerns. So at least once a week, if not more often, our PLCs are meeting together and doing kind of like a thumbs up, thumbs down through their rosters. And in the next slide, I'll give you just a little glimpse, and then we'll come back to this one. But this is the form that they're using. And sometimes they use it, and then now they're starting to memorize this form, but they're going through their roster of students, and they're just thumbs up, thumbs down in these categories as far as academic concerns, resources that they may need, social emotional concerns, and behavior concerns of their students. And they're just flying through their rosters of students and saying, hey, do you guys have academic needs for these kiddos? What are some resources, social emotional needs, behavior concerns? So here's an example of how they've used this form. They've identified a student. Maybe this is a student that has an academic need, and maybe these teachers have identified that in their classroom. So maybe this kiddo, I don't know specifically what was going on, but maybe they've identified that this kiddo has several missing assignments for them. So they'll use their PLC time to call this kiddo in real quick and say, hey, we've noticed this week specifically, we have several missing assignments from you. What's going on? This is not typical for you. Can we help you with something? And they may identify something going on at home, or some resource that they need. Hey, my computer wasn't working this week. Canvas was specifically hard for me this week. And they're able to identify that issue and come to some kind of resolution to help this kiddo. Just another way that they're doing that. We in the counseling office are using this as a way to identify social emotional needs that maybe the kiddos haven't come down to talk to us about. So they'll send us a quick email and say, hey, 3 out of the 5 teachers have identified some kind of a social emotional trigger. Kiddo was crying in 3 out of the 5 classes this week. You may want to check in on this kid. And just another way that we're identifying some issues. Same with behaviors. Maybe we're seeing some things going on, and the counseling office can check in on the kid and even maybe have to pull a principal in and say, hey, they're seeing some issues going on in the classroom. Maybe we want to be proactive before it becomes a reactionary issue. Sometimes we have to get called into, here's where I was called into a care and concern meeting where that went beyond something that the form could do, and I was able to give some insight to what was going on with a student, where they could be, again, more proactive instead of reactionary with a student. So the counselors sit together. Sometimes it takes us counselors sitting together and say, hey, several teachers are having this issue. I've tried several things. What do you think? And we get together and kind of collaborate together and try to come up with some strategies to help kiddos. We're being able to use these PLC times and some of those care concerns to plug kids into some of our resources. And these are some of our new resources down at CAMS, our clothing closet and our food pantry. We're really proud of these, and we're being able to use these more efficiently due to our PLC times. Some other ways that the counseling office is using the PLC times is when we have new students, we're able to go into one central meeting instead of trying to catch every teacher. We go to one place and we go meet with those teachers and talk to them about a new student coming in and what background information we have about them. If we know about some developing trauma for a student, specifically this year with all the COVID and things going on, some information that we can give teachers that might help them in the classroom. Again, it's one central place that we can go in and relay some information. Follow-ups to cares and concerns, we can go meet with them and let them know. We use this time to do parent phone conferences with the teachers and be that middle person, the mediator between the teachers and the students and parents. So we use that time. We also meet with the teachers to give them some tips for helping a student regulate within the classroom. It's just a great tool for us to help with some of our trauma students and, again, have that one central place to work with teachers. This is one of the great tools that we use down at CAMS. If you guys have any questions or want some more information, feel free to contact me anytime. Thanks, guys, for your time. I appreciate it.